People talk about inflation. Politicians say companies are greedy. Companies say the supply chain broke. And economists just talk about target rates and move on. But let's explain this in a way everyone can understand. Inflation means that the money you have today will buy you fewer bananas tomorrow. It's that simple. Your money's purchasing power is shrinking. Whether it's dollars, euros, or yen, doesn't matter. Over time, all of them lose value. And that's no coincidence. The system is built to work that way. So, why do currencies lose value? There are actually two answers. One old, one new. In the past, the definition of inflation was clear: an increase in the money supply. In other words, when governments print too much money or banks hand out too much credit, you get more money chasing the same goods. The result? Each unit of currency becomes worth less. Then, in the 20th century, the definition got a bit strange. Governments started defining inflation as rising prices. That way, the blame shifted away from their money policies and toward grocery stores, shopping malls, or gas stations. But the truth is, these two definitions are connected. When the money supply increases, prices go up. And when prices go up, your income, savings, and labor lose value. That's inflation in a nutshell. Now, this is where interest rates come in. Think of interest rates as the gas pedal and brake of a car. If inflation gets too hot, the central bank hits the brakes, meaning it raises rates. Borrowing becomes harder. Spending slows down and the system cools off. But if the economy slows down too much, they step on the gas, lower the rates, make credit cheaper, and pump more money into circulation. Sounds logical, right? But what it really means is this. The fate of inflation isn't in your hands. It's decided at a few desks by a handful of people. Ever wondered what would happen if inflation were zero? In theory, it's possible. If the amount of money and the amount of goods grow at the same rate, prices stay stable. But no one actually wants that. Central banks openly say, we want around 2% inflation per year. Why? Because a little inflation discourages people from hoarding cash, makes it easier for governments to pay off debt, and prevents panic from falling prices, deflation. In short, the system says your money will lose value over time, by design. This isn't just theory. It's been repeated throughout history. Take ancient Rome, for example. Rome's currency, the denarius, was made of silver. But as the empire expanded, so did wars and costs. The imperial solution? Reduce the silver content in coins. On the surface, the coins looked the same, but inside they were cheap metal. Over time, people noticed prices rose and trust fell. That's how silent inflation worked. Then came 16th century Spain. They shipped tons of silver from the Americas, mined from places like Potosi, flooding Europe with precious metal. Money supply exploded, but goods, land, and labor didn't increase. Prices soared. Historians call it the price revolution. But for ordinary people, it wasn't wealth. It was just life getting more expensive. See the pattern? Rome diluted its coins, Spain flooded the market. Or to different methods, same result. When money supply grows faster than goods, money loses value. That's not magic, it's math. And ordinary people are always the first to suffer. Now fast forward to the 20th century, Weimar Germany, 1920s. After World War I, the country was buried in debt. Their solution? Print money. At first things seemed fine, but the presses never stopped. Soon, a loaf of bread cost billions of marks. People got paid twice a day and ran to spend it before prices doubled again. Cash became so worthless that people burned it to heat their homes. Lifelong savings were wiped out overnight. Debtors, even the government deeds benefited, because they paid back what they owed with worthless money. Inflation didn't just destroy the economy, it destroyed trust, and that collapse helped pave the way for Hitler's rise. Not every inflation ends in disaster, though. Even normal inflation can wreck lives. Take the 1970s in the US. Nixon ended the gold standard, meaning money was no longer tied to anything real. Then came the oil crises. Prices skyrocketed while the economy stagnated. They called it stagflation. Wages couldn't keep up, unemployment grew, and living on 2 salaries became the new normal. That's when people realized sometimes the system isn't designed to make you rich, it's designed to keep you still. In countries like Argentina or Zimbabwe, it got even worse. Money lost value so fast that people stopped trusting their own currencies and started hoarding US dollars instead. In Zimbabwe, prices were doubling every single day. You needed $100 trillion bill just to buy bread. Imagine your life's work evaporating overnight. What's the common thread here? Inflation always starts the same way: a crisis, a war, a debt. Then money printing begins, short-term relief follows. But soon after, wealth changes hands. The rich get away, the wage earners lose. The state melts its debt, banks profit, and once again it's the ordinary people who pay the price. Because at its core, inflation is about trust. Trust in money, trust in government, trust in the future. When that trust collapses, societies follow. Rome, Weimar, Argentina, Zimbabwe. Same story. Today, the system hasn't ended inflation. It has institutionalized it. Central banks say 2% inflation per year is healthy. But think about what that really means. In just a few decades, your money loses half its value, and that's fully intentional. Because inflation quietly transfers wealth. If the government is in debt, inflation works in its favor. Borrowers win, savers lose. And who's the biggest borrower on earth? Right? Governments. And to make things worse, official inflation numbers don't even include the most expensive essentials: housing, healthcare, education. So when they say inflation is under control, your wallet might still be burning. Even the definition itself has been rewritten. It used to be increase in money supply. Now it's increase in prices. That shift moved the blame away from the source. But the system itself never changed. Still, within this story lies opportunity. Throughout history, some suffered from inflation. Others thrived. Those who held land, houses, gold, or real assets survived. That's why people always look for value outside the system. First gold, and now things like Bitcoin. A digital asset that can't be printed endlessly. Because the rule is simple. Money that can be printed will lose value. Money that can't be printed will endure. So what's the bottom line? Inflation isn't just rising prices. It's the planned devaluation of money. It has toppled empires, governments, and societies, and it still continues today, under the label of economic policy. And if you don't understand it, you'll be the one paying the price. History might not repeat itself, but inflation always rhymes. If you don't spot the pattern, your money will quietly disappear, while someone else keeps winning from the same system. If this helped you understand things a little better, subscribe, and tell me what else you're curious about. I'll explain it honestly, no nonsense.